Hi everybody, today I'm having a look at the Nikon FE2, which was produced from 1983 to 1987, and it's a semi-professional 35mm film camera which came out during the time of the F3. It uses batteries for the metering and also for the electronically timed shutter. So the type of batteries it uses are these button cells, which are LR44 type or equivalent. You can use two 1.5 volt batteries, or you can in fact fit a single 3 volt battery. And to fit the batteries, you have the battery with the plus symbol at the top, and on the underneath of the camera, on the base, you've got a cover that fastens up. Get the little coin. That. Now the batteries will last over a year during normal use, and it's quite easy to carry a spare pair with you, obviously. So that's the batteries fitted. I'll now run over the main controls and functions of the camera. First of all, looking at the top plate, you've got the film advance lever, which has a few functions. First of all, when you pull it to the standoff position, it unlocks the shutter button, and then you can use it to advance the film. At that point as well, it cocks the shutter ready for firing. At that same time, it also advances the frame counter. Now to the right of that, the advance lever, you've got a little button that is the multiple exposure lever. And the beauty on the FE2 is you can use it at any time, so if you want to take another shot on top of that shot, you can simply push the lever down, and then it cocks the shutter without advancing the film. So you can take another shot on the same frame. You've got the shutter speed dial, and the FE2 is an aperture priority camera. So you can use it in a semi-automatic way where you set the aperture on the lens and the camera will automatically set the shutter speed. You can also unlock that option pressing the little button. You can move the dial to the other settings, so you can use it manually, so you can set the shutter speed and the aperture. And in that mode you can set between 8 and 1/4000th of a second. Now when it's in aperture priority mode and the camera setting the shutter speed, the shutter speeds are stepless between that range. You've also got two manual settings that don't use the battery for firing the shutter, and one is M250, which is 1/250th of a second, and you've also got B, so when you hold the shutter down in B, it keeps the shutter open until you release the button. In the centre you've got the flash hot shoe, and on the FE2 it features TTL flash through the lens flash, so you've got extra contacts there. To the left of the top plate you've got an exposure compensation dial. You're pressing this little button and you can move that dial to plus to minus 2 stops, and a nice feature is when you look through the viewfinder you see the display shown there in the viewfinder to let you know you've changed the exposure compensation, and just remind you obviously to put it back to 0. Here is the film crank and lever, rewind, crank and lever, and around that you've got a ASA ISO film speed setting where you push up on the nailed nut and you turn that and it moves the little red dot, and you set it to the film speed in use. In this case you only use ASA 200. Looking at the back of the camera, you've got the serial number, you've got a memo holder for holding a piece of the carton of the film, so you know you've got a film fitted and what speed and how many exposures. The front you've got the strap lugs, you've got the nameplate, you've got a depth of field preview button, so when you hold that down, operates the lever inside, and it closes down the lens to the working aperture so you can check the depth of field. You've got a self timer and an exposure lock lever, and the way that functions is the shutter's cocked, set the self timer, press the button, it automatically puts the mirror in lockup mode while it counts down, and when it reaches the end of 10 seconds it will fire the shutter electronically. So you can also use that as a exposure lock lever, and the way that works is you would point the camera at the subject that you want exposing correctly, half press the shutter button down, and then you need to hold in the lever at that same point, and then it will hold that exposure so you can recompose and take the shot with those settings. Also inside the mirror box is the focusing screen at the top, and these can be replaced on the FE2. You can buy 3 different types: a K2, B2 and E2. The K2 is the standard one fitted to the camera, as fitted in this one, which has a split microprism in the centre for a focusing aid. The B2 is a plain matte field focusing screen, and the E2 is a plain matte with a grid, which can be used for checking your horizontal and vertical alignment. If you look at the base of the camera, you've got the motor drive contacts, the rewind button, so when you get to the end of the film you press that in so you can rewind the film with the lever. Tripod socket, got the battery cover I've just shown you, and those are the contacts for the motor drive. Now the FE2 in the display features a match needle system, which I much prefer over LEDs or LCDs, and when you look through the display what you see is at the top you see the aperture, which is actually a copy of the small little numbers on the back of the lens there. It reads that through a little window, so you can see the aperture, what you've set. On the left hand side is a scale, which is the shutter speed scale, or down one side it starts from A at the top for the automatic or aperture priority mode, all the way down to 8 seconds. And on A, so you've got 2 needles, the green needle which shows the setting on the shutter dial, so in A the green needle is in A, and then you've got a black needle which is the actual reading the exposure, and that will show the shutter speed that the camera has set, or the camera judges to be correct for the exposure. It puts the black needle against the shutter speed according to what aperture you've got set on the lens. So that's the basic rundown of the camera. Very nice camera, say it's a lovely camera to use. It's got a rotating plate on the mirror, which a counter-rotating plate I should say, so when you fire it there's not much mirror bounce, so it's very nice and soft to use. It's not very jerky at all or anything. A extra addition you can buy for the FE2 is a motor drive. This is the MD-12, which will work on this and the FE and the FM, FM2 and also the FA, and this uses 8 AA batteries, which you insert in here. Just under this node I'm not to show you. Pops out, uses 8 AA batteries, and on the base of the motor drive you've got the electrical contacts for the camera. You've got the nut that screws into the tripod socket to secure it. You've got a pin which is for the rewind release button, so you press that up, it pushes the pin up, so it pushes the button on the bottom of the camera so you can rewind the film manually. It doesn't do it automatically with the motor drive. You've got the actual advanced crank itself, and that is the actual little button that fires the shutter. On the top you have a S&C mode. Pressing the little button, rotate this dial to set it to single or continuous firing, and in continuous firing it can produce a maximum of 3.5 frames per second. That's if you've got a shutter speed of 1/2 of a second or more. You've got another tripod socket in the base. You've got an on-off switch, and you've got a little light. The light flashes after each wind on of the film, and at the end of the film as well, to let you know the film's finished. It will automatically stop, so you can rewind the film. To fit that to the camera, the way to do it is to put the drive end in first, and then match up the nut on the tripod socket, and just turn this plastic nailed nut, and it secures it. Now when you first turn on the motor drive, the first thing it'll do is advance the film and cock the shutter, so the camera is ready to fire. So in single mode, just press the shutter and you let go and you press again to fire another shot. In continuous mode, actually it fires continuously, say up to 3.5 frames per second. It's quite fast. So it's a very nice motor drive for the FE2. Works very well, and although it makes it a bit bulkier, it's got a nice feel, puts the button in a nice position and gives you a nice little grip for the camera as well. Another accessory for this camera is a flash, an SB-15, which is ideally suited for this camera because it's a through the lens flash, and this takes 4 AA batteries. And another nice feature of this flash is the head can be rotated. You just push that lever in, and then the head can be set in different click stops, so you can actually use bounce flash. On the back you've got different settings for automatic setting, A1, A2 where you set the aperture according to the film speed you've got, and then obviously you get the distances of the flash range as read out on these scales here. You've got an MD mode for using it with a motor drive. You can fire up to 4 flashes quickly up to 3.8 frames per second. You've got a fully manual mode, and you've got a TTL through the lens mode. Now obviously even though it's through the lens there are some limitations. You can set an aperture of between f2 and f22, and obviously then it depends on the flash range you require. If you set a high aperture but you want a long distance flash range, then obviously the flash won't be able to cope with that because it's only got certain power. If that's the case, the flash will flicker after the shot to let you know that the shot is probably underexposed. Now if you switch the flash on and you set it to A mode, you can test if the flash output is sufficient, because you can do a test shot by pressing in that button. So let's say for example you wanted to try a bounce shot and you wanted to set f5.6, which is A2, so you set it to A2 on the button, and the light sensor is at the front here, so I've got that bouncing off the ceiling and I can fire the flash, and it didn't flicker after the shot, so it's sufficient. So there's sufficient power to power it at that, so then you could flick it to the TTL mode and use it, and knowing that the shot will be exposed correctly without wasting a shot. So to fit that to the camera, you push it onto the hot shoe, and tighten down the nailed nut. And another nice feature of this flash is it can be rotated through 290 degrees, so you can have different settings and angles. The flash gives you a coverage of 35mm lens or above, and you can use it with wider angle lenses if you fit a little diffuser on the front. So to use it in TTL mode, you've got the camera on and you've got the flash on TTL, and you will see when you press the shutter button halfway down on the camera, the LED light comes on in the viewfinder as well to tell you that the flash is ready. And then you can just obviously take your shot, and that's recharged very quickly because I've got the flash moving forward. So there you go, that's the FE2 with the MD-12 and the SB-15. Nice little setup, very nice camera. They're not too expensive, although obviously you can pay quite a bit for one in very good condition. Just a couple of extras as well, which you can buy, say the focusing screens. It's just how they come. A little packet. They set of tweezers, I've taken them in and out because they're very delicate, they scratch very easily. That's a spare focusing screen, and you can use a extension cord for the flash. This is a SC-17 TTL cord, so you can fasten that to the top of the camera and mount the SB-15 onto that side, and it will still work through the lens, but you can use it off camera rather than being facing directly. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've tried to keep it short as possible and put as much facts in as I can, so I hope I don't feel as though I've rushed it too much for you, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you for watching.